Hello, this is Dr. Pete, and got a bunch of phone calls. Just got off one about a few minutes ago, and it was a really, really good call from a veteran, retired, and this a lot of things to be able to catch up with. I actually gave that person George Blackard's and Jimmy Lish's information because they're looking to help veterans. And I know school is school, and we do things in school, but sometimes that's the whole point of school is networking and getting in touch with people. So I think that's what it's about, and sometimes it's great to be able to help a student realize, hey, there's other things in life. This is an option with the American Legion. It could be VFW, DAV, whatever fill in the blank nonprofit that you want to help. Is just go help somebody. Like a boss once told me, do something, even if it's wrong, just go do something, okay? And I think that's valuable advice. But it was a really good phone call, and so I got all these topics, and one of them that really struck me the most, and I think needs clarifying, is Turnitin. When students write papers, there are these programs called Turnitin and SafeAssign, and there's other ones that literally take papers and it analyzes it to see what is from other sources, say on the internet, books, journals, you name it, they're looking for it, and it will tell you down to the letters and where it can be found and if it's cheating or not or quoted correctly. It's just great. They're great programs, and to be honest, you almost have to ask, how did professors ever function before these things? Because as the world gets bigger, there's more data, information. It's just harder and harder. And I don't care how good you are, even if you're in a very select field, you're not going to know everything out there. So some professors get wrapped up on, some academic sources, but a lot of colleges are just, there's a lot of academic sources, okay? And we have to sometimes look at that access to those libraries and seeing things, and that's where these programs come into play. So what will typically happen is a pattern where a student will come into class not very advert or say well versed at writing papers, and they will write a paper, and it will come back and it'll just show that they cut and pasted things in or large parts of it, meaning they plagiarized. Even though it's not on purpose, it's still a form of plagiarism. So some schools are very hard on that. Others are more compassionate. Some don't care at all. And some of those go out of business. I've worked for them. But having said that, the policy of response can vary from professor to professor. That's obvious. And I think that can deal with a lot of things. One, the policies of the school, the individual nature, or if you will, the policies of the professor. It might be even as much as mood. If the person's in a good mood, they may be more supportive of you, and if they're in a bad mood, they may not be so supportive. That's human nature. That's just part of it. So what I tell students are, a student will come along and they'll do this, and then I'll say, well, that's a form of plagiarism, so we have two options, and I always tell that story, but I won't do it here. But we can go 0% into the dean or program chair academic review, or we can go and take a lower grade, much, much lower grade, but learn the lesson, work with the writing centers, the Perla program, the example papers, or we can work together in order to give them the best support and explain how to use sources. And those are typically what I do option wise. I really try to figure out if the person's cheating on purpose or they just don't get it. That's very important, especially in lower level courses. Once you get to graduate school, it's kind of hard to justify those things. And so having said that, then the student will swing back the other way and quote everything. They literally quote everything. And that can be the opposite problem, especially in APA. What I was explaining to the student earlier is, yes, technically it's the correct way to do it, but what happens is you do not show your analysis, your development. It's nice to quote little snippets, maybe something a little longer here and there, properly done in APA or whatever format of documentation you use. That could be Turabian, Chicago style, MLA, whatever. But a lot of schools are using APA. So when you do all that, you just don't show your analysis. It's not as bad as plagiarism, but in essence, you're just writing someone else's work, and that's not very valuable. You're not showing your work and your development. So I always say cite and develop. Cite something, quote or citation APA, then develop afterwards more of your opinion and ideas so the professor can see, engage if you know what you're talking about, or at least you're incorporating some of the ideas and you appear to know what you're talking about. Because again, I can't reach into your head and say, I think this is what you mean. And even though I analyzed people for quite some time and did federal agent work and military and all that, I still can't predict to know or even consider what you think in your head, okay? I mean, I may be able to describe some things, read some things, do all these things, but at the end of the day, what you put on paper is what I can grade. So we have to find a balance. And the balance is we want to quote every now and then, very sparingly. We want to write the ideas of others in our own words, and then obviously develop with the APA and then develop afterwards with our own concepts. But if a student does that, then they'll avoid the plagiarism issue. And I can understand that can be very terrifying. You know, it's a big deal, and it can be, you know, 1 a 0 on assignment or a lot of points off. Some schools will give you a warning. Some will fail you out of a class. Some will even try to kick you out of school. I mean, these are all big things. I fully can appreciate those things. But there's also the other thing is if you have doubts or insecurities, talk to the professor. They're real people. If they don't respond, then you know what? Give them a bad review and talk to the administrator. But give them the benefit of doubt. They are busy. They typically have lots of students. Try to work over a week or so and say, look, I have real concerns here and I need to know how you think and what I need to look for. See what they're looking for, what they're interested in. This is normal. There's nothing abnormal about that. But the big key here is if you use it word for word, then it's going to come up. If you're one of those students, just had this week, where they change every fourth word, it's not like I'm not going to see this, okay? I mean, come on, you know, Turnitin report shows all this. It shows every word you changed, and they show the original word too. So I don't know what to do with that. You know, when I see that, I sit there and I go, well, you plagiarized, you know? And then another thing too is if a professor tells you this happened and they have the report, it's okay to say I'm sorry. It's okay to say I really didn't understand that, and now can I get help? It's okay to do these things, but please do not sit there and act indignant like, well, I've never ever been accused of this. I've never. You're the problem, not me. You know, come on. You know, it gets old. So I wish the schools would sit there and show the reports. Some do, some don't. But if you ever get a chance, look at the report, and that's why professors just don't go, oh, well, Turnitin said 50%, you get an F. We actually have to read it, and some things are a little bit more because you have citations or things like that. So we have to read that report and understand. Now, if it gets a little higher, obviously, the higher it is, the more chance there's something going on. You know, so that's a real potential. So, but don't worry so much about that. If you get a report and it's in your school, call it up and read it. Don't just, you know, wring your hands and bite and you know, read the report, understand what professors are looking for. And I will tell this story and with no attribution whatsoever, and I'll try to leave the gender out, so then it's even less attribution, if that's a word. Anyways, or less. We're not going to attribute it to anyone. Okay, attribution. Anyways, the point being, Turnitin is so precise that I had a student who turned in their paper, and the only difference was their first name and my name on the paper. Well, that automatically puts a 100% Turnitin. It tells me, by the way, this paper was used, all this was used in this paper that was submitted on this date, this class, this professor. Now, if it's me, I can get access. If not, I got to send an email. I've never seen a professor say I cannot have access to the Turnitin report. I get that report, and sure enough, it's their spouse. Okay, notice how I left the genders out. Okay, and this person, what had happened is the spouse would take the class, and then the other spouse would come along and take the class afterwards. Same papers, discussion posts, laddering, so to speak, with them, or staircasing, if you want to see it that way. And it's phenomenal that no other professor had caught that, even though Turnitin reports were coming back 100%. So my point being is it's an excellent program. It's not something to be intimidated over. You may have a 50% copied. It's okay. I mean, if you quote a few things, cite a few things, and put references at the end, you're going to get a higher one. And if the paper's smaller, those references eat up more space. That's normal, okay? So don't just work off basic percents. Work off, okay, this is what the report says. I'm good. Try not to paraphrase. I always tell people paraphrasing is a highway to plagiarism. So try to stay away from that. And then quote word for word, write in your own words if you want to just cite APA, and all the problems go away. If there's anything else, I appreciate it. Appreciate that topic. I think it's an excellent one. And if there's anything else, always drop me an email, text, or post. Thanks.